Hey guys, welcome back to the A Better Me Equals a Better We podcast. So I know by now you guys have probably read the caption, and after talking with my team and just realizing that you guys are following the show and really enjoying the content, I've noticed that a lot of people weren't following us because it was on my personal page. A lot of people weren't following the podcast when it first started, and there was a lot of great content that I feel like a lot of people missed out on, right? So we're gonna have an episode today. Don't be worried, right? But we're gonna do an Better Me Equals a Better We podcast rewind. So this week we're gonna rewind to episode 6. Episode 6 title is Poverty a Mindset? This was to me one of the best episodes content wise. I learned so much personally. From this particular topic with these two panelists, these lovely ladies that we have for this episode. So I know that you guys will enjoy it too. I will be a part of this episode, so we'll all be in the comments together, chiming in, talking about this topic, is poverty a mindset? And before we get this episode started and rolling, just get your pre-orders in for the A Better Me Equals a Better We apparel. The last two episodes, I wore our other two designs. This is another design from our fall line. My shirt says, "Yes, I'm a minister." What did you think one looked like? And you can customize your shirt to say, "Yes, I'm a mom. Yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Yes, I'm a grandpa, grandma." So get your pre-orders in now. And without further ado, our Better Me Equals a Better We podcast rewind. Episode 6 is Poverty a Mindset. Let's get it going. So, welcome back, everybody, for another episode of the Better Me Equals a Better We podcast. It is I, your host, Traquan or Trey. And this week's topic is going to be, is poverty a mindset? I'm excited to do this episode with you guys. I think that this topic is so vital in all of our communities, especially the minority communities. And I think that is something that's very essential for us to talk about. So today, I brought in the big dogs to talk to you guys about this particular topic. And I'm just going to dive right into it and have my panelists introduce themselves. And I'm going to start with Natalie. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell our viewers a little bit about yourself?
Traquan, thank you so much for this opportunity. He says the big dogs. I'll always be his auntie, just real quick. Born and raised in a community, South Jamaica, Queens. Some people in Brooklyn don't even go to Queens anymore. It's become that type of thing. I presently live in San Diego, California. If my nephew, Traquan's dad, is on here, he'll say I've retired from 5 or 6 jobs. So right now I'm working, I work for UC Davis as an instructor in their continuing ed and professional development department. And one of the classes I'll be teaching tomorrow is understanding the uh, puzzle of poverty. So it's a very subject that's very touches my heart. This one just really does. So that's enough about me to give you some background. Okay.
Nice. And from that introduction, like I told you guys, the big dogs, right? And Natalie is the most intelligent person that I know. Um, and I brought in one of the most intelligent young people that I know. Tony, why don't you introduce yourself for our viewers and tell them a little bit about yourself?
Thank you for that. I am so glad to be here. Shout out to you. I'm from Brooklyn. Trey is like a really close friend. We always have dope combos. And yes, this conversation is definitely necessary because I'm trying to personally push that, poverty line and create that rich Black household. So I'm so glad he invited me to be on this panelist. I'm a kids designer, trying to make a difference, trying to build things for my daughter. So I'm glad to be a part of this conversation and I look forward to all the comments.
Super dope. So again, like I said, guys, the big dogs, right? And then the most important big dog that I invited to this particular conversation is you guys, the viewers, right? Like I always tell you guys when we, go live and have different panelists and, even myself being the host of this podcast, it's not about me. It's not about our panelists. What we say up here today or any other episode, it's not law. Like, it's not like this is the way to get out of poverty or this is what this particular topic is or the way to go. We're just giving you guys a perspective that may help grow you and strengthen each individual so that as a collective, we can all grow. So all of you guys' comments, are needed. All of you guys' perspectives are needed. And I really can't wait to see what you guys have to say on this particular topic. So diving right into it, like I think I'm just going to start right with, the title, right? The topic, like, is poverty a mindset, right? So let's begin from, let's start from the beginning. So where does poverty start, right? That's where I want to start. And Natalie, I'll start with you. Do you believe that poverty starts in the household?
Absolutely. And I can only speak from personal experience and then moving on up the years. I'm not ashamed of my age. I embrace it. I can't believe I've lived this long. I'm 65 years old. I remember in 1964, I want to just ask a quick question and it'll get to my point. What's the longest war we've ever fought in this country for my history buffs? What's the longest war we've ever fought? What's the longest war? Was it the Vietnam War? What's the longest war? It's a reason I have on my fatigues. What's the longest war we ever fought? Anybody know?
I'm not sure at all.
Okay. The longest war we've ever fought is the war on poverty because the president of the United States, Lyndon B. Johnson, declared war on poverty. And when a president of a country declares war on something, you are in that war until he declares it over or it's won. And we haven't won the war on poverty. So, and they've done all these programs. Like I said, I get to teach the directors from the welfare offices from all the way from Mexico, all the way to Del Monte, California, where touching Del Norte, touching the borders of Oregon. And we've got all these programs, all this money, and we're still living in poverty. It's a mindset. It starts in the home. That's my opinion. There's three different classes that it's broken down into. You have poverty, you have middle class, you have wealth. If you ask someone that is deemed in poverty and the things for it, how do they feel about money? What the first thing I think they would say from the stats is the numbers. It's to be spent. If you ask a middle class person, how do they feel about money? They'll say it's to be managed. If you ask someone wealthy, they'll say it's to be conserved and invested. And it's a mindset because I can personally say going from being a single mom on welfare to being blessed with making six figures. When my bills were paid and I got my paycheck, I didn't think about investing. You know what I thought about? Buying red bottoms, I don't have to go to the swap meet and get a knockoff. I'm going in the Louis store. They're going to offer me a glass of champagne and I'm going to buy that purse. I don't care if I don't have any CDs or any investments or any inheritance to lay from my family. So I still had that poverty way of thinking. So I think it starts in the home.
And that's great. Like even the breakdown of in poverty, like this is how they look at money. Middle class, this is how they look at money and wealth, and how they look at money and the things that they do with money and their relationship with money, right? So still kind of sticking with the same question, like Tony, what are some things when we're looking at that poverty category? What are some things that you believe that could be or that are being done in the household that's kind of pushing this particular mindset on, the children or the environment?
I feel like it's unintentional teaching because parents and families can only teach what they know. So if you don't know better, you don't do better. So it takes better understanding, money, credit, anything to push past of the basic go to school, get an education, and then get a good job. The basic teaching of, go work for somebody. So I just think that It definitely starts at home because children mimic what they see. They see your parent go to work every day. Okay, mommy, when I get older, I want to go to work every day. My 3-year-old just told me that, like, mommy, when I get older, I'm going to go to work. Even though that's not the lifestyle that I want to teach her, I just think that it's not, intentional, and they're not in the household saying, I want to do this. It's just all they know. It's all they know to work 9 to 5. It's all they know to, go to school, go to college, and get a good job at a big company. Get the benefits, get the retirement, and there's nothing wrong with that. But they need to, you have to want to take classes, do more for yourself, for your family, in order to beat that poverty line, because it's systematic.
Right. And I really like something that you said in regards to the 9 to 5 mindset. And then especially because, like you said, there's really nothing wrong with that. But to put our children or to put our families in a sense of a tunnel, or having tunnel vision in the sense of, I have to work this job, I have to do this, I need these benefits, I need this. It creates a rabbit hole, especially if that particular job or that particular field of study or whatever that is something that doesn't pay enough for the lifestyle that you want, right? Or the lifestyle that you're trying to live. A lot of the times people live in a particular category, whether it be poverty or middle class, and you may be in poverty but want to be in middle class. You may be in middle class but want to be wealthy or rich. But your habits are that of somebody in a lower class, right? So teaching them and expanding their minds in the household, like being able to expand their minds to different ventures, definitely opens it up, because at the end of the day, I have a saying for myself, like my dad for a lot of years, like, was a garbage man, right? And I said to myself, like, you know what, my dad's a garbage man. He makes a lot of money, right? And that was one thing I always knew growing up, like, garbage men make money, right? And he had a lot of other, jobs, but this was the one that really stuck out to me, because it was like, garbage men make a lot of money. I was always told that when I was in school. But then I know a lot of people that sit behind the desk and they make a lot of money, right? And then I realized that there might not be levels, there might be lanes, right? Because at the end of the day, somebody has to do it, right? But it may not be you, right? Somebody got to pick up the garbage. Where the garbage is going to go, somebody don't pick it up. So there's nothing wrong with the 9 to 5 job. Somebody has to do it, but we have to broaden that horizon, give them those different options in the household, so that way they can choose, because a 9 to 5 is not for everyone, right? So rather than have them struggle in a particular field, we give them those different options, so they'll be able to choose a lifestyle or a job or workplace that best fits them. So Tony, going back to you, so now that we talked about the household, do you believe a person's environment can contribute or have an effect on, like, where they live at in regards to poverty, like, or that line that they're on?
Absolutely. Environment, household, I think they all go hand in hand. And just to touch back on a little bit about what you said, I think getting that good job with, good pay, that's just the start of the battle. Now you have all this money. Now you don't have the education or the knowledge or the understanding of what to do with the money. So it's not about having the money. You can have the money. You can have 100,000, 150,000, or $2 million. But if you don't have the knowledge to keep that money, to build generational wealth, you could be signing up for bankruptcy. You could be, you could lose it all. You could be going to the red, the Louis store and shop where you drop and getting the gold chains and stuff. Yeah, you look cute, but if you don't have the basic understanding of how to handle money, it will work against you rather than work for you. And of course, environment as well. If you sit, you have to put yourself around people that knows more than you so that you can grow. You ever heard the saying? I don't really know the saying, but I'm gonna just paraphrase the saying. You are who you keep around you. Now, if you have friends or if you have just a whole negative environment, just about gossip and drama and negativity. Nobody's, getting that higher self out of you. They're just dragging you down. So of course your environment can keep you in a poverty mindset. So yes, I believe that.
And I agree 100%, like 101%. And on our last episode, generational behaviors, one of our panelists, Jose, he said, I try to surround myself with people that's moving in the same direction that I'm moving in. He said, and he had an example. He said, listen, dog, if I'm trying to go to the moon and you're not trying to figure out a way on how to help me get to the moon, then it's not to say that we can't be friends, but I can't have you in this circle, because having the proper environment that's conducive to your growth is essential. And it's the same thing with anything else, right? Like when you sit and look at plants, right? You can't just take a plant and put it in your sink and think it's going to grow. It's not in the right environment to grow. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. And one of the things that you said about like those behaviors, like, you don't know how to handle it. Like you get all this money, but you don't know what to do with it. And you spending it and you spending more than you're making and things of that sort. So Natalie, I want to ask you, what do you think some common behaviors are that are keeping people in poverty?
I think, Quan, some of the common behaviors are not changing. Just to go back to the question when you said about does a person's environment affect poverty? Yes. And in your household, I'll give you a perfect example. We're open books. My daughter, I brag about her because she's a real estate broker. She did not want to work for someone else for a 9 to 5. I retired from the county. She got a job at the county. She did excellent there. She said, Mom, this isn't me. My daughter is an employer. I'm an employee. I can go in and run $1 million companies. She wants her own company if it's only worth 1,000 and she's content. Traquan, you're the same way. You'll make sacrifices. You want your own business. You're not into not that you don't want a lot of money, but you're an employer. You're not going to do well working as an employee. You just don't fit that mindset. And it's not that anything is wrong. There's no right or wrong. So I think what keeps us in it is in the environment in our family. When you have dreams and you're around dream killers, like if someone says to you, well, Traquan, why are you going after Kingdom Hoops? Or Antoinette, okay, so you're in real estate and you're working for a builder. Why do you want to launch out and do your own business? You're okay. You can't tell everybody your dreams. I think that's the biggest part for us, if we just talking close knit with the piece about what keeps us there and being afraid to leave. When you start doing good, those that are close to you are going to start judging you. If I'm in the Louis Vuitton shop, I paid all my bills and I'm buying a purse and my cousin Pookie's light and gas bill needs to be paid and she didn't handle her money, I'm a dirty dog because I didn't pay her light and gas bill. And Pookie and the whole family, they might not even invite me for Sunday dinner after church. Oh, that girl done got the big head. She know Pookie need her help with her light bill. No, Pookie, do something different. So it's that fear, of losing those around you too, and just becoming better. Some of us are not afraid of success for ourselves, but afraid of what our loved ones would say. So I think that thing about keeping crabs in the basket, that's true. That's true. And sometimes we just say, you know what, I'm not even going to try to get out because it's comfortable here for me. And I don't want to meet new people and leave my friends behind. So I think that's what keeps us. It's very scary. Success is scary.
That is so true. And as funny as it was, the Pookie scenario, I think a lot of us see that, right? Like where you're in a situation where, and a lot of people now, because of social media, we get like an inside view on everybody's life, right? And I remember once upon a time, like when you did something in the younger days, like prior to social media, and we have certain conversations at the table, we'd be like, oh, you need your own show. Like, I need my own show. And now with social media, like everyone literally has their own show and they can be whoever they want to be and show people whatever they want to show them. But on the flip side of that, a lot of people who have money and who are wealthy, they're speaking out and talking about things like what you just said. And I'm real big on sports. And I listen to a lot of the young athletes when they get all this money, and they talk about how they really don't have as much money as people think they have. But once they get money, people just assume that, y'all remember that time in the 3rd grade, like I shared my hero with you, like my light bill needs to be paid, right? And the video that we're actually that I'm going to be referencing throughout this conversation is actually by Dr. Eric Thomas. He's actually like a world-renowned speaker, #1 motivational speaker in the world. And one of his other messages, not the one that we'll be referencing, he said, money doesn't solve money problems, right? And he gave an example, like, if I give somebody $10,000 today, you're going to come back 6 months later and ask me for more money, because money doesn't solve money problems. You need a source of income, right? So I think like you hit it right on the head. And then like dream killers, right? Like how many times have we been around people, and if someone is in that mindset and you've broken out of it, right? Like you see the light at the end of the tunnel, you're walking out of the cave. There are people like why would you want to do that? And you got to be mentally and spiritually strong to be able to get past that, especially if it's somebody that's close to you. Like it's easy to just say ignore them, but when it's your mother, when it's your father, when it's your, someone that's very close to you, it can really, hurt you in a different kind of way. So I'm going to jump to our comments really quickly before we dive deeper into it. And Nikki said in our comments, the value of money for a person depends on the environment. Some people believe $18 an hour is good money, and some people that's not a lot of money at all, right? So again, it's a mindset, your perception on things, like the way you look at things, right? Where you've come from. Like it's okay to have come from $9 to now be making $18 an hour, and you can be proud of that because you know where you came from. But depending on your goals, your perception of a particular amount of money, may not be the same. And then Tora said, if you hang around 4 millionaires, you'll become the 5th. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. So I really believe in finding people that like when we talked about, the whole moon thing, like if I want to get to the moon, I need to surround myself with people that want to get to the moon so we can get there together, right? Or you guys can help me get there, or vice versa. And then Marilyn said, you can't take everyone along on the journey. And I think we've all seen that. Like at times, as much as we want to take people along with us, some people might not be tall enough to ride this ride, right? And we got to be able to live with that, right? And that just has to be, what it is. So Tony, going to you, at what age do you think the poverty mindset begins, or that kids or just people in general begin soaking up this poverty mindset, like this learned behavior?
Just got through telling you, my 3-year-old said, Mommy, when I get older, I want to go to work because I see you go to work, and she's 3. So I just think as young as that, it could be even younger than that. It's what they see. If a child sees all the adults out the house, okay, you go to school, I'm going to work. You come home, you make dinner, you go to sleep, you do it again. Every day, day in and day out. That's what they see. So it could definitely start at a very young age.
Right. And I agree with that, right? In the episode 3, I believe it was, when we were talking about screen time. And I remember, one of the subtopics was, how screen time affects our children, and telling everybody, like, kids do what they see more than they do what you say, right? So you can tell your kid, like, do this, do this, do this, do this. But if they see you doing this, they're only going to do what you tell them as long as they feel like they have to listen to you. But once they get out on their own, they're going to venture into what they saw because they believe that's what's right in most cases, right? So now looking at, a different aspect of poverty, right? Now looking at wealth. And in this particular video, the video is called Success is a Routine, and it's by Eric Thomas. And I want to go into that because, Sonia, you touched on something that I think is very vital, right? As far as like, you go to work, You come home, you do this, you cook, you eat, you go to sleep, and then you wake up and do it all over again, right? And that was kind of, my childhood. Like my parents worked, they came home, cleaned, we ate, we went to sleep. At a certain time, we got up, we went to school, right? But now Eric Thomas proposes that successful people have a different type of routine, or they have a routine. Natalie, do you think that people that may be in poverty lack a routine?
Absolutely. And when I say that, this audience is a lot more relaxed and comfortable for me. But if this question came up and I was speaking not English with us, but corporate needs, because my language changes up wherever I'm at. I speak a little differently. So if I was at the podium at UC Davis and I had 58 welfare directors that didn't look like me, I would answer that question in a different way. I'd say, I do believe that it needs a routine but the thing that I don't want them to forget is I don't want them to start judging, because what happens when you get people in offices and positions, when a person is applying for, say, food stamps, or we call it CalFresh, or welfare, or homeless assistance, or medical benefits, if they have that mindset, oh, you just like a routine and you lazy, you coming in here. No, this is a proven psychological fact. As Maslow talks about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if a person lacks their basic needs like food, water, warmth, and rest, they cannot focus on a routine. Their routine is to get to a warm place to stay, even if it's a parking lot for cars to park where people are homeless. They have safe parking lots here in California where the homeless people park their cars and they go in this lot, and that's where they stay at night. So that little girl that may look like me in that car sleeping, that's 12, she can't develop a routine, because her routine is, can we get in the shelter tonight, or are we going to sleep in the parking lot? So I just don't want us to forget that area of it when we're talking about it. It's so much. Like I said, once again, I got on my fatigues. This is a war we're fighting. And I think the majority of the people that are on here would probably fall into that category of middle class or upper middle class. So if we're trying to win this war against poverty, and as you talk about, do you lack a routine? Absolutely. They do lack routines, but you've got to understand that, and depending on what level you're dealing with and who you're working with and who you're trying to pull out of that poverty. Because right now, I think what we're looking at is building wealth. Everyone probably in this conversation is talking about building wealth. But when we reach back, and when I go back and I'm talking to them, I'm like, you know what? I want to know where that $24 million went that I saw the budget and I still got homeless people. Rewrite the program, because it's not working. The process has become the barrier to end this war against poverty. So yes, I do think they lack a routine, but we've taken their routine from them. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense. Perfect sense. And I like the fact that you one, address the fact that yes, a routine is important, but the fact that for some people that may not be tangible, like you may not be able to have that, right? And in this particular video, like Eric Thomas said that most successful people, they don't have a gap in their routine, and they're obsessed with their routine, right? So he made a joke, right? And he said, for me, I get up at a certain time in the morning, and I don't have no gaps in my routine, that by the time I go to sleep, like it's 8 o'clock at night. And he said if the devil come and tempt me, by the time he come to tempt me, I done did everything I had to do. By the time he come to tempt me, I'm going to sleep. Like, now, you know what? You're going to have to try tomorrow. And he's like, but you want to, yeah, I do want to do that, but you're going to have to try tomorrow when I wake up, right? And he basically, the thought process is that if you don't have gaps in your routine where you wake up at this time, you're taking care of, let's say let's just give like a mock routine and say I wake up at 6 in the morning and I work out. I want to take care of my body and I'm eating right. And then I shower and I get up and I do what I have to do for work. And then I do what I have to do for my children. And every moment is accounted for, right? During your day. The thought process is that it creates an environment where it limits the time that you can be unproductive or do something that can be counterproductive towards your goal, right? So, Tony, what would you say about those particular comments? And do you think that that's true? Like not having gaps in your routine lessens the chances of you being unproductive and doing things that can be counterproductive towards your goals?
It's every single day. I think a routine is very important in whatever you want to do because it's consistency. In order to be consistent, you have to have a routine. In order to see results, you have to be consistent. It all plays hand in hand. And somebody who has a degree in something, right? They went to school, they have no work, working, my mind just went blank, sorry. They didn't work in the field, they just completed their degree. Then you have somebody who spent the last 5 to 6 years going to class, getting the skills, learning, building. Who's more desirable at the interview? The person who just got the degree, who just was in school, or the person who spent the last 5 years being consistent, learning skills, learning, different, whatever you need in that specific field. But then you have, what I was gonna say, I don't know why my mind is going blank. Anyway, moving on. You just have to make a conscious decision to be better. I think every step in a routine is important, starting from the morning when you wake up, your first thought, until the time you go to sleep, your last thought. Every step in the routine is important. And to the 12-year-old, going back to what Natalie mentioned about the homeless girl, it may not be a big routine, but even her thought process of wanting to be better and grow, and get out of the situation that she is in every single day, if she has it on her mind, sleeping in the parking lot, that I want to be better than this, I'm going to be better than this, that's a routine. That's a thought every single day that she has from morning to night. It can start as little as that. It doesn't have to be drastic changes where it's out of her control, but I think routines are very, very important.
That is really a super dope perspective. And like I say to you guys, like I really learned so much from you guys, even from the comments. So guys, continue to bring your comments in. And Tony, like just that whole perspective of like somebody being in a car and being in a situation where you have all odds stacked against you and you don't have the opportunity to have that, being able to formulate some sort of routine is so crucial, right? It may not be the routine that you need in order to become wealthy or in order to, well, we're not going to skip classes, but in order to become middle class and then become rich and wealthy and things of that sort. But just having a routine to kind of get you through the day is crucial, right? And Cam said in our comments, a routine is a formula, a recipe for success. So, like you said, like having that thought over and over and over again, or having somebody working on a job versus somebody that doesn't have experience. You've done this over and over and over again, like what it takes. So having that routine is definitely a formula or a recipe for success. And then Kay said in our comments, routine is a form of discipline, right? And I'm happy that she said that because I really want to drive that home. Like when we talk about routine, it goes even back to what Tony said about consistency, right? Again, another form of discipline. We can say we want all we want, right? I can say I want this. I can say I want that. I can say I'm going to get up every day and I'm going to lose this weight and I'm going to be a millionaire and I'm going to get this business off the ground. But unless you're consistent, which involves discipline, then your routine is just a thought, right? It's just a thought process. It's not, it's not anything at all. And then Tamiko says structure, right? Structure is very important, especially when we go back to where poverty starts and we talk about the household, right? Having that structure creates a routine for children, right? Whether it's something as simple as you have to do your work before you play, right? That's simple, right? But that structure, that routine is gonna now teach them when they get older, I got to take care of my business before anything, right? And that leads me into my next question, And Natalie, I'll ask you this question. When you're dealing with somebody or a group, let's just put it in a group, right? When we're dealing with a group or an area or that may have a poverty mindset, do you think that vacation and rest is more important than work?
Wow, that's a deep one. I think when you understand about growing, you know that vacation is important. That was something that I didn't know. I was just like the energizing bunny. I keep going and going. But when you break it down about vacation is more important than work, let's break it down into the poverty that we're dealing with. Is it someone of a mindset that came from generational poverty or situational poverty? Because there's a difference. Now, someone from generational poverty, rest and partying and vacation may be the only lifestyle. I don't know how true this is, but they said when the slaves were freed, some slaves stayed there and party. They just got their swang on. They didn't even leave the plantation. And then there was some of those that went on and they said, I'm leaving. So did they stay there and party and rest from their labor as working as a slave, or did they keep it going and move on and plan? And I think if I was there, I would think that I would have, my family, we would have been the ones that left because we would have had a plan. After we're gone, we're going to have a party in a year. So it depends on the individual and understanding what they're escaping from. Because there are some gatherings that I get to and vacations that I've been on that I don't want to go because it's not conducive to what I want to do or who I want to be around. So that's kind of a tough one for me. It's I'd say vacation is very important, and I learned that later in life how important it is. But you've got to have your priorities together. It has to be a part of that formula. I love what Tony said. You've got to look at the whole picture. It's got to be a part of something that you're doing. If that answered it.
Yes, definitely. And when it comes to you, I'm really big on rest. Like you said, I know that you are the energizer bunny like this. And just a little bit off topic, but on topic, when Natalie was introducing herself and telling you guys a little bit about herself, and she's telling you guys that, the where she teaches and all of these jobs that she's been able to obtain, and going from where she's come from to be at a point making six figures and things of that sort, and managing $1 million projects, right? And this woman will have $1 million project that she's managing, $1 million, right? Just recently, she had $1 million project that she was managing, and I was telling her, some things. I was bouncing some ideas off of her about my basketball business, Kingdom Hoops LLC, and she literally was like, "Okay, we're gonna make a plan, do a meeting, do this, do that," and she's making all of these plans to meet with me while she has this $1 million contract on the table, and then she's very involved in her daughter's ventures, and always making sure that she makes herself available to her daughter, and she makes herself available to the rest of our family. And then at one point I'm like, listen, when do you sleep? Like, you got to go to sleep, right? So I don't want to create the environment with that question that we shouldn't rest or we shouldn't take vacation. But like Natalie said, work. How are our priorities, right? Like, are our priorities number one, right? Or are we gonna party like it's our last day and then now our rent's not paid, right? Like, so where's the priorities in that, right? Another thing that I want to touch on in a particular message that Dr. Eric Thomas did, called Success is a Routine. He talked about being in a different environment, right? So when you're moving from one level to another, and he has a PhD, and he was saying that he has a PhD that doesn't hang on any walls anywhere. And he didn't get the PhD for acceptance or affirmation, but he got the PhD, one, because it opened up doors for his family that his master's degree didn't open. And not to say that a master's degree or a bachelor's degree or an associate's degree is not good enough, but he realized that in his field that the PhD would open up different doors. It would allow him to be in front of different people if he had it in his particular field. And then another reason why he said that he got this particular degree, was to learn the language, right? So he said that when he was in English class, the professors looked at him, and he got his PhD at Michigan State University. He said he wanted to get it from a predominantly white institution, and he said that where people were looking at studying and they thought that he was trying to learn, he was actually listening to their language and how they conjugated verbs, because he realized that in order to really be the best at what he was doing, he needed to be able to, one, communicate with his environment where he had came from, but also have the vocabulary and the language to speak to a different group of people, right? So Tony, do you think a part of people being in poverty is because they could possibly have poor language?
Ooh. You just have to ask your question. Who do I want to talk to? When I'm with the big dogs and I'm sitting in this room, how they gonna respect me? You gotta talk on a level that they at. So you need to go maybe take communication class. You need to go sit and take skills class that's gonna enhance your knowledge and your words and your vocabulary, just like he did. And I respected what he did, because if you talking gibberish and you think you know what you're talking about, I will look at you like, what are you trying to say? Now, if you know what you're talking about and I can learn from you, and it's like, okay, cool. Now I'm listening. Now I know you know what you're talking about because you're talking my language. That's very, very important. And just a tad bit, just to touch back on the vacationing, I am big on time spent with family. So I think just going back a little bit, you need to find a balance, because you can't do all work and just no play. And rest can mean, you just take a little vacation. Maybe you just take a day off. Maybe you just need, this weekend just with your family, just grab a movie, because kids grow fast and time is something you can't get back. So I think pertaining to vacation, you definitely need to find balance. But yes, language, I need you to know when I'm in the room with you talking business, I need to speak your language because you need to hear me. You need to take me seriously. And I know what I'm talking about. And that's it just makes you more confident in what you're talking about. If you're going to a communication class and like he said that he wanted to know how they conjugate the verbs and, just, I'm going to take you seriously. I don't care if you're in a all white school, you're the only black man. If I sit across from you and we having a conversation, I need to know what you're talking about. That's the only way I'm going to take you serious.
That is a Snapple fact. I want to walk in and I want to shake the room. Y'all gonna know I'm here, right? Like that, like pretty much. And I think a part of that, not just the language, but your aura, your confidence, and the confidence in what you're saying, right? That's one piece. But like Tony said, like if you talking a bunch of gibberish, and Natalie said in the comments, she said, right, Tony, it's nothing worse than a loud fool. Right. So you just can't be talking, a lot about nothing. And I think a lot of that ties into what we're around. Right. Are you taking those, that time to better your vocabulary because of who you plan on speaking to. Right. And then Natalie also said, Natalie gives us all business mindset, even when it's family, and she sets the tone of professionalism, which helps us outside of the conversation with her. And it's essential to all families, right? Just to have somebody to, be able to set a level of professionalism, set the tone in the room, and give you like a different way of looking at things. And Kay said, I'm learning later in life now. Tora also said that recharging is so necessary. You cannot keep going with a dead battery, right? And so we also have to look at that, right? When we look at like what's draining us, work can be draining, parenting can be draining. If you have a significant other, that can be draining. So you got to find ways to recharge, right? And then also be around people that are pouring into you, right? Not that you're pouring out your cup, emptying it out, going to put your cup back at the fountain, getting more, and then you keep pouring it in the same place. It got to kind of, right? Like we got to put ourselves in environments where the environment is pouring into us as well, right? Carla said, find their love language in your golden, right? So I think that works into it as well. And Kay said, emphasis on shake the room, right? That's just how it should be, right? When you're in a place where now you want to be the big boss, you want to be the big dog, right? You're starting a company. And with Tony, like she said earlier, like she's doing clothing and she's starting a company, right? She's not gonna walk in a room like, and Eric Thomas used an example, like, when I go to corporate, I can't say ambulance, right? Like I could say that at the cookout, but I can't say ambulance, right? So now when Tony walks into these rooms and she's presenting her clothing line and she's going over her quarterly goals and things of that sort, she can't walk in there like, you know what I mean? So what's about to happen is, you feel me? Like, like it's just a certain way that you got to be able to present yourself. And I think language is also, I wouldn't say a part of poverty, but can be a barrier when you're trying to break through that line and make it to the next step. And then lastly, before we go to our next question for you guys, Nikki said, I tell my son all the time, if you don't know something, don't act like you know it, but actually do the research to find out. And I think that's so great, because we live in an age where information is so available. It makes no sense to act like you don't know something. Like Google will literally give you so many different options on how to find something. So just do the research, right? If you have to take a class, like Tony said, if you want to do communications, you got to take a class or whatever it is, do what you need to do to gain the information that you need to have, right? So Tony, I'll go back to you. And I have a statement for you, and it's true or false. Like, what do you think? So, most people are poor because we read and watch poor stuff. True or false?
I would have to say true, because there have been times where I know I have to be productive and I know I got some stuff to do, but then I just start scrolling. I be in people's comments. I'd be like, well, how you end up, people arguing, you start ending up on their page, and it gets so time consuming. Or I'm watching reunion, I'm binge watching shows, and I look up, it's 10:30, and it's like, Tony, what did you do today? Like, you did nothing. So I really think that it's okay to a certain extent. Like, you can't just be wasting your days binge watching, gossiping, filling your brain up with drama. You got to kind of balance it out with some reading, some studying. You got to, just break out of them bad habits. And I personally have them, because sometimes I be just on Facebook like, what is going on? Just scrolling. Then I get into the TV shows, and it just get real crazy. But yes, I would say that's true, because I am a victim of it.
And I love it. Like I love the fact that we can all be relatable, right? Let's all be relatable. Let's all be real. We sitting around the table amongst each other. This is a safe environment, right? Like, I be binge watching some stuff, like, and don't let me get a show that got a sequel or another show that connect to it, because I done went from like Vampire Diaries to the originals. Like, now I'm watching Legacies, and you catch yourself now because you got these shows that you can watch a whole season in one day. Like, before, you had to wait to a certain day. So don't get a show that got all 7 seasons. Now you messed up in the game. But it's not that the show itself, like you said, it's not that the show itself or what you're reading itself is poor. Like, it's not like it's the book or the show is like be poor, be poor. But if you reading it and you watching all day, scrolling up and down, like, I remember at one point I would wake up and turn over and click Instagram as soon as I woke up. I don't even know what I'm looking for. Like, I don't even know what I'm looking for. Why am I on Instagram right now, right?
Facts.
So that's why I said, and that's why I thought that it was important to get your perspective on this particular question, because we're a little more into the technology than the older folks. So even though I will say this, I don't know what it is with Candy Crush and older folks, but y'all still playing that game. Older folks love some Candy Crush. Like, I don't know what it is, but y'all love it. So where we might binge watch some shows and be on social media and stuff like that, I know you guys, some of you guys are still trying to figure that out. Them phone games, you know, that's y'all lane. Like, and that
Trey,
might
like,
be
roll. I'm like, but she playing Candy Crush.
right.
Missing
That's
stops
they
and
thing.
everything. Yes.
Right. So, another thing that Eric Thomas said is that time is the most important thing to a millionaire. If they're not working, they're perfecting their time. I mean, perfecting their craft. Because for a millionaire, they understand that time is something that they can't get back, right? If you lose $1, you can find a way to get another dollar. If you lose a minute, 10 minutes, an hour of productive time or just time in general, you cannot get that time back, going back to the routines and how they're very strict on their routines. So Natalie, what would you say to that? Like the mindset of a millionaire being that time is their most important asset, and that if they're not working, they're spending time perfecting their craft.
I agree 1,000,000%. I find for me, you'll hear me say, I value time over money. Health and time, that's just something, you know, you can't get. And it's how you spend your day. Just to back up a little bit, Traquan, when you were talking about being on social media, I had to go to a meeting. Hi, my name is Natalie. I'm hooked on Thug Life. I took Facebook off my phone because I'm like, why am I playing this game? I got 1,000 things to do, and I know what I need to do. So my question is, I start thinking. I said, is this set up to take our attention away from what we need to do? Once again, with the war on poverty, the war on drugs, drugs was put in the Black community to slow us down a little bit. So I'm wondering if these games are the same way. So I'm very, very careful. So my reward, okay, do you want to go buy a new pair of shoes, or do you want to spend an hour a week on Thug Life? I'll take the hour a week on Thug Life, and I'll turn my timer on. So once again, it's time. So when you talk about time, it's easy to fall into that mindset of not utilizing your time the best way. I don't play with it. I try to be respectful of people's time. And my dad had this saying, on time is late, 10 minutes early is on time. I think we all need to value each other's time and not let things rob our time. You can't get it back. And if you see anyone that considers to be successful, or we consider them successful, they have some type of tracking system that they use, be it their calendar on their phone or just an old-fashioned date book, but there's some type of way that they manage their time and they look at what they're doing. One of the most organized people I know, I look at my daughter, she always has a calendar, and she left it there, and I said, let me see if she really using this thing. And she's really, because I'm like, is she really using this? Because I buy all kinds of calendars. That doesn't work for me. But she tracks her time. So that's a big, big part of your success, managing your time. You have to do it. You got to understand what it's worth.
Definitely.
God's still working on me with time. I am not the best with Listen, this podcast is for me because what we talking about is me. I need to hear this. God was like, listen, Traquan, get Tony on this podcast because she needs to hear this. All right? I need to hear this.
I'm telling you, we all need to hear this, right? Like, there's been a point, and like, just like how we were saying, like, I'm reading these comments, I'm watching these shows, I'm doing this, and then you read the comments, or I'm reading the comments out loud. It's like, oh yes, me too. Oh my God, right? Like, I love the fact that we can all be transparent and relatable, because I think one of the biggest things is knowing that it's not just you, right? Sometimes we get in a place where we beat ourselves up, like, yo, like, and let's say, for example, I'll take me and you, for example, right? Like, two people that have started a business, or have started a business, I should say. And like, I don't know that let's say, like, you got a love and hip hop addiction, right? And that you're not on time with your stuff. The only thing I see is the clothes and the photo shoots, and I could be in the house beating myself up, like, yo, I need to be more like Tony, right? And with social media, you get that a lot, where you see people comparing themselves to other people, right? And now I'm in the house beating myself up, but now for us to be able to be transparent, for all of our viewers to be able to be transparent and say, like, yo, like, this is affecting me too. It makes it that much easier, not to say like, oh, I'm gonna do it because you know, everybody else is doing it, but it gives you sort of like an ease, like, okay, I'm not the only one. And then also when we're talking about building that environment, now we can work through this together, right? And I don't feel alone and like I have to, you know, work through it on my own.
Yes, I agree 100%. I'm very big on, learning and teaching. And, me and my sister started TEL. It's a company called Teaching, Empowering, All While Learning. It's like we could teach and we could empower, but we're learning too. We don't know it all. I'm learning from you with this podcast. I'm learning from Miss Natalie. Like it's all about learning. And I'm so glad to be learning, to be giving advice. And of course, I'm always going to be 100% transparent.
Super dope. And Natalie, did you hit the raise hand button?
I did. I just wanted to just jump in when we talked about that time. And I'm looking at the comments too about someone said about the accountability and accountability partners. Your organizer is like your accountability partner. I see a young lady on here, Marilyn Armstead, who was my accountability partner forever, way before degrees and good jobs. But one of the things I admired about her, she always had her organizer together. She managed her money. She always had a plan. And you said something, Tony, with being a successful businesswoman. If you know that sometimes doing something, you have a weak area, you have to have someone that you can be vulnerable with to be successful. And I think in this thing, Tre'Quan, you ought to be commended for doing this and providing a safe environment. This is a judgment-free zone. Guilt and shame stop us from being successful because we don't want to be vulnerable. You might have someone, but you don't want them to know I'm a terrible money manager. I don't want them to know my credit score. So it's just going to stay this way because I'm not going to even talk to them about it. I don't want to be on a pedestal. I need help. And that's what we need to learn how to say. I need help to break this poverty mindset. I need help with it. We've got to definitely keep doing this, keeping this door open. Tre'Quan, this is just amazing. Some of these topics that you're doing now for an hour that you're doing, maybe we need to even do a 6-week class on when we can really dig in it and say that's what we're going to do. Yeah, I just wanted to get that in.
That's actually a great idea. And if you guys are open to that, put that in the comments. You guys can leave comments, message me. And I believe that everyone that's here, my panelists and even my past panelists would all be open to that. And we can all share, whatever it is that we bring to the table and learn and grow together. So just to go to our comments for a second, Melissa said, yes, I have to remove apps. It starts to become a mental addiction. She also said that she's on level 2,352. So she candy crushing, like she is candy crushing. And then she said it's also okay to add assistance, a planner, or even accountability partner, like Natalie said. And then Katrina said that's why it was invented. Keeps us distracted and trying to keep up. Social media can be draining if one isn't focused on their personal goals and achievements. So definitely things to watch out. And just real quick before I dive even deeper into the comments, I know that we're talking about being successful right now in the routine of a successful person, and that the title of the episode is This Poverty and Mindset. And I just want to just let everybody know that the way that this particular episode was designed was to speak about poverty, but then to also, on the flip side, speak about success, right? And try to bounce different ideas for somebody that might be trying to break through that poverty line, right? Rather than, it's one thing to sit and talk about where you are and sit and talk about all of the faults, but it's another thing to talk about different ways that people who are not in that particular situation either got out of that situation or made sure that they didn't never get there, right? So for me personally, if somebody comes to talk to me with a problem, I feel like, and Natalie will tell you this because she does this to me without even saying it. If I come to her with a problem, I probably got about 5 to 10 minutes to actually talk about the problem before she starts talking about solutions, right? So she'll console me through the problem, like, oh, okay, and be empathetic to it and sympathetic, and but 10 minutes in, she throwing solutions out there, right? So that's I just wanted to, just for anybody that kind of was like, is this conversation about success or poverty, right? It is about poverty, and it is about poverty and the mindset of poverty. But I also wanted to, on the flip side, just give that success or success routine, or just some different ways that people escape poverty or work their way to not being in poverty. And then Carla said, we're working through it as a village, right? If you guys listen to any of my past episodes, or even the promo for my podcast in general, I said, thank you guys so much for tuning in to our Better Me Equals a Better We podcast rewind of episode 6, Is Poverty a Mindset? So just so you guys know, this particular episode was actually 2 hours long. 2 hours long, and I didn't want you guys to sit through the whole 2 hours of the rewind. But guess what? It's on the page, right? It's on the A Better Me Equals a Better We podcast page. You guys can go back to episode 6 to watch the next hour. I'm telling you, the second hour was so much better than the first. And the first was amazing. So you definitely want to go back, look into that, see what else you might have missed. All the other tips, the comments were so rich. This episode, again, was one of my favorites. And that's why I wanted to play it back for you guys that may not have seen it if you weren't following the podcast at that particular time. So again, episode 6, Is Poverty a Mindset? I know you guys would have sat through it, but I'm trying to be very conscious of you guys' time. And again, before we go, our fall line, A Better Me Equals a Better We apparel, is dropping. Put in your pre-orders. The prior 2 episodes, I did wear 2 of our fall line drops. This is actually the 3rd in our fall line drop. Yes, I'm a minister. What did you think one looked like? And you can get this shirt custom made in different colors, different sizes. Yes, you're a mom. Yes, you're a grandma. Yes, you're a mother. What did you think one looked like? If your pastor needs a shirt, right? We can do all of that, right? So put your pre-orders in now for A Better Me Equals a Better We apparel. Thank you so much for tuning in, you guys. Next week, episode number 26 will be about nutrition. The title of episode 26 is going to be You Are What You Eat, right? So we're going to be talking about nutrition, talking about putting good things in our bodies, and healthy alternatives to a lot of medicines, right? So again, thank you guys for tuning in. And last but not least, do not forget that a better me equals a better we. I'll see you guys next week, Tuesday, and we'll talk about nutrition. Have a great night.